Okay. Hi, everybody. Good morning or afternoon, depending on where you're joining from. I'm Mark Siegel. I'm the founder and CEO of ESG Today, and we are really excited to have everyone join today for ESG Today's first ever live event. Our first webinar comes at a fascinating moment in the world of sustainable business and finance, which I've been watching has evolved very significantly over the past few years and seems to have become even more dynamic and rapidly changing over just the past few months and weeks. For businesses, there's been a clear shift over the past couple of years from an environment of high ambition and goal setting towards implementation, which has led to increased scrutiny, awareness, certainly of greenwashing risk, in some cases, increased green hushing as companies become more wary of overpromising, as well as a heightened sense of the amount of work and investment that it will take companies to reach their stated ambitions. In some cases, this has been leading to greater focus on sustainability action and strategy, and conversely, in some cases, to pulling back on goals and targets. On the finance and investment front, particularly in the past few months, there's been a major shift that we've seen from collaboration on realizing climate and sustainability goals to wariness around political and regulatory scrutiny, which is leading to the restructuring and even dismantling of some key initiatives, such as the Net Zero Banking Association and the Net Zero Asset Managers Initiative, leaving many banks and investors, for now, with their sustainable finance goals intact, but really on their own to implement their strategies, or certainly without industry-wide type of collaborations. What's becoming increasingly clear over the last couple of years, and particularly in the most recent months, is that the most vital factors enabling financiers and investors to participate and have an impact on sustainable transition are the ability to finance the transition and to assess, measure, and report on their sustainability progress with clear and consistent data and standardized reporting on their financed and facilitated emissions, which I think is a great segue, which is why I think it's so perfect that we launched our first webinar with our first two guests, Debasmita Sarkar, who is Senior Sustainability Consultant at Schneider Electric, and Sasha Matovic, North American Regional Lead at the Partnership for Carbon Accounting Financials, or PCAF. Just as an introduction, I'm sure you all know, Schneider Electric is a leading global supplier of strategic advisory services and software solutions for the energy and climate transition, helping companies turn their sustainability ambitions into impact to drive scopes 1, 2, and 3 progress. They have an extensive portfolio of digital tools and advisory services, empowering companies to achieve strategic target setting, road mapping, and to take actionable steps toward renewable energy procurement, energy efficiency, and resilient operations. Schneider Electric was named the world's #1 most sustainable company in 2024 by Time and Statista. Turning to PCAF, PCAF is a global partnership of financial institutions launched globally in 2019 with a mission to develop and implement a harmonized approach to assess and disclose greenhouse gas emissions associated with loans and investments. The PCAF initiative has developed standards for measuring and disclosing financed emissions, facilitated emissions associated with capital markets issuances, as well as insurance-associated emissions. It's a good time to mention before we go on, I'm not sure if we'll have time for Q&A on today's webinar, but if anyone does have any questions, please feel free to write them in the comment section, and we'll get to them if there is time. One of the things we're going to learn about today is a new first ever partnership just recently announced between Schneider Electric and PCAF. So I'd love to turn to Debasmita. Debasmita, can you share more about the partnership?
Institutions on calculation.
Hang on, I think we're frozen on Debasmita. Hang on.
Mark,
Yeah.
perhaps in the meantime, I can share a little bit about PCAF as she's regaining service.
Yeah, that is a good idea. Yeah, Devasmita
Sounds good.
on right now. So yeah, okay. So we'll skip ahead. Sasha, yeah, why don't you start with just giving us an overview on PCAF for those in the audience who are less familiar.
Sure, more than happy to. So PCAF, or the Partnership for Carbon Accounting Financials, as Mark said already, although it's a mouthful. PCAF is an industry-led partnership, which means it's by financial institutions for financial institutions, with the goal of facilitating transparency and accountability in the financial industry. So PCAF achieves this through the development and implementation of a harmonized approach, through the assessment and disclosure of greenhouse gas emissions associated particularly with loans and investments. So PCAF has developed GHG accounting methodologies for financial institutions with 3 distinct standards that cover a variety of asset classes and activities, including insurance. So these standards have actually been very well received in the market. It's probably evident by the fact that PCAF has over 560 financial institutions that have joined, and we represent almost $100 trillion in total financial assets. I think another important thing to say is PCAF's membership base also continues to grow rapidly as increased disclosure laws are adopted globally. Our accounting methodologies have been highly regarded as a leading global standard. We're the listed standard under Canada's OSFI guidelines for financed emissions. We can also help comply with California legislation, IFRS, and other disclosure requirements in other jurisdictions. So how do we help our members? Besides writing these globally adopted GHG accounting methodologies and standards that are available to signatories, we also have a multitude of benefits at your fingertips. To highlight just 3 of these that help FIs early on. Before you embark on your GHG accounting journey, we offer the PCAF Academy, which is a self-paced online learning platform. We provide training modules and exams based on the standard to get you familiar across all the asset classes. Once you start calculating your financed emissions, we have a robust database of emission factors. We have tens of millions of emission factors in there, which really helps signatories when they're first starting out. These are hard to find normally. We also have a technical assistance team available via email or during office hours that can provide ad hoc support on our database, help desk functions for technical questions about the standard or about your calculations in general. And we can also do high-level checks of calculations and reports done by institutions before first disclosures to ensure that they're aligned with the PCAF standard. So multitudes of benefits available. And that's a bit of that background about us.
Okay, well, thanks for jumping in there. Okay, I think we have Devasmita back. So
let's try this again.
Hi, good to have you back. Anyways, as I was saying, I was just mentioning the new partnership that was recently announced between Schneider Electric and PCAF. And we sort of jumped ahead and got an introduction to PCAF, which actually may be really useful because that will actually help explain why the partnership is so useful. So Devasmita, do you think you could share a little bit on what the partnership's about?
Yeah, absolutely. Just making sure that you can hear me this time. Sorry about that. I don't know what went wrong.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So Schneider Electric's sustainability business, the team that I'm a part of, has been working with financial institutions on calculating financed emissions since 2021. We have worked with clients in private equity, insurance, asset managers, and infrastructure debt funds, and I've even helped some clients commit to PCAF. While we have been doing this work for a while, it's not something that we've really been known for. So our partnership with PCAF is helping us make this, service offering a little bit more official for our existing and for our new clients.
Okay, wow, that's really exciting. Such a a really cool development. And it was really great to see more types of collaboration emerging, especially in the type of environment that we're having now, where they're falling apart in some areas.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's definitely going to have an impact. Can you tell us what makes this new partnership different in your approach at Schneider Electric? Really, in other words, what should businesses take away as the biggest impact from the partnership?
Yeah. So our sustainability business is global. It's covering North America, EMEA, Latin America, and the APAC regions. We like to say that we have regional support, but global coverage. A very unique aspect of our business is that we are not really a traditional consulting company. Our company has always been in the business of energy management, efficiency, building systems, like everything that you mentioned in the beginning. And essentially, we've been in the business of manufacturing decarbonization equipment, implementing them, as well as implementing any like software solutions for our clients. So all these like decarb measures that we're thinking about for our clients is also something that we need to think for ourselves and our own business. So this partnership will provide us with the opportunity to bring our years and years of expertise, doing decarbonization to the portfolio companies and the assets of our financial services clients by providing support at the starting point, which is, financed emissions, and then taking them through to the end, which would ultimately be like their decarbonization. The resources that are provided by PCAF will help our team build a really strong technical foundation and help us start this transition journey with our clients.
Wow, I mean, it sounds like a very timely collaboration, certainly. Let's turn to, if I could turn like just over to Sasha, I'd like to hear like your perspective. Tell us your connection to Schneider Electric, on the PCAF side, and what are the drivers that led to this partnership? Why is it needed? How is it a good fit? All that.
Yeah, more than happy to. So as I previously mentioned, Schneider is the first consultancy to partner with PCAF officially in the Accredited Partners Program. And all the benefits that I talked about earlier about PCAF and all those signatory benefits also now extend to all of Schneider Electric's clients, which is super important, I think, as you're doing these calculations. So signatories working with Schneider can harness both the benefits of PCAF combined with their consultancy support. I think that's super important, especially for sustainability teams that may be a little under-resourced as well, having that combined approach. This collaboration will also see enhanced capabilities in measuring and reporting emissions for those institutions, because it includes the assurance that Schneider's measurement methodologies have been verified by PCAF, which I think is huge. We wrote the standards, we have gone through and made sure the way they approach things are aligned with those standards, and that helps to ensure that the calculations will hold up to scrutiny under audits and stuff like that, which I think is super important for their clients as well. So I think it is a good meld of the technical and the support together in the market.
All right, thanks, Sasha. Devasmita, it'd be really interesting to hear your perspective, really like on what Schneider Electric is seeing in terms of client requirements. Like, what are the types of problems that clients are trying to address? As it relates to our discussion today, how will this new partnership with PCAF help to address their pain points?
Yeah, and this is actually what Sasha was talking about as well. So we are seeing a lot of our clients trying to get their data and their documentation in order to be assured or verified. So us being PCAF partners helps us provide our clients with everything they need to have the confidence in the underlying data and the methodology to undergo any sort of like successful assurance or verification, whatever they might be embarking on. This is definitely a shift from just a few years ago when clients were mostly, trying to get a handle on the PCAF methodology and trying to understand like where to even start their internal data collection. So this partnership will help us help our clients no matter where they are in the journey, whether they are just starting off at just calculating their financed emissions, or they have been calculating their financed emissions for a while and they've been monitoring it for a while and are looking to undergo verification. So like I said before, it's definitely that strong technical foundation and the backing of the PCAF methodology, etc., will really help us help our clients better.
Yeah, thanks. Sasha, it's been fascinating to watch the evolution of PCAF over the last few years. Like, I mean, PCAF really launched globally around the same time that ESG Today launched. So I feel we kind of, gone in tandem, just seeing, the maturation of, the organization and really of transparency requirements for financials. And, you've been there, setting standards for them. So, as we've seen transparency expectations on climate-related issues increase significantly for financial institutions over the years. What are some of the pain points that PCAF sees from its own signatories? And if you'd like to sort of segue from there into how you feel the partnership and the broader sustainability consulting partnerships in general, now that you have first, how will this benefit your signatories?
Yeah, for sure. I'm more than happy to talk about it. So I think the question is twofold. We have a lot of signatories, especially here in North America with California, who maybe haven't disclosed for the first time, but may need to under the California disclosure laws, or are just excited to start decarbonization journeys themselves. So at the beginning, especially, one of the pain points we see is a lack of resources to kick off the accounting journey. It can make it super overwhelming to figure out where to start, especially. How do you find emission factors? How do you go about calculating these things? Do you have the staff? And PCAF helps to alleviate these pain points by offering our how-to guides through the standards, like our PCAF Academy, which walks you through step-by-step how you do those calculations. And our standards, I will say, have undergone feedback periods in the market too during market consultation. So we want to ensure that they reflect market best practices. So I think that gives a little bit of credibility to the standards as well. We also have our emission factors database, as I mentioned. So all of these things really, really help to start that journey for those who have not yet begun their accounting journey. For those who have already started and are looking to disclose further and maybe enhance their disclosures, we also have a ton of resources that help them, like our technical assistance team helps them pioneer new asset classes. We also have, I'm not going to lie, the best signatories in the world. They're so excited and so into standard development. A lot of them had undergone, I've created this standard internally, or I've created this tool internally. How can we get it verified by PCAF so that other members in the market can use this tool that we've developed? So we see a lot of collaboration. And that collaborative spirit is not only embedded in our signatories, it's embedded in the secretariat at PCAF, it's embedded in our board. And I think it's also going to reflect really well in this partnership with Schneider Electric as we continue to collaborate with them and their clients. So I think the spirit of collaboration is very much alive and well through this journey together, and I'm really looking forward to see the next steps.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's great to hear. I love that spirit of collaboration. It's refreshing, certainly in in the current environment. So thank you. So before we move to Q&A, if we have any, actually I see there are a couple, so that's great. But before we get to that, I'd really love to hear from both of you. As we look into like the year ahead, this is like, it's already January. It's already been fascinating, right? So what is the main action do you think businesses should be taking to address their goals going forward? And any thoughts on trends in the year ahead would be certainly fascinating for me. I really hope for the audience. So I'll start with you, Sasha, if that's okay.
Yeah, for sure. So in general, I think FI should take the leap on their disclosures. As I said, getting started is hard. For those already disclosing, continue to enhance your disclosures and try and disclose on additional asset classes, really, really deepen the disclosures you're making. I did want to say on that note, I'm going to plug this in here. PCAF core team continues to drive forward methodologies for new asset classes. We actually launched new methodologies for a variety of asset classes. They're open to public consultation. We encourage everyone to give us feedback before the end of next month. We're looking for market feedback on those. So we definitely will continue to be driving forward new methodologies for new asset classes later in the year after these ones are published. We'll also be updating our database quarterly as always. So continuous evolution in data available to help signatories with their disclosure. It'll also be available to Schneider Electric signatories as well. So I think these evolving resources can help signatories, both our signatories and the signatories of Schneider Electric in their network as well. So that's kind of where I see the year going. Wow,
thanks. Okay, and Devasmita?
Yeah, I mean, this is more for our clients and, our prospective clients. I'm going to echo what Sasha said, that, take the leap, start measuring your financed emissions. And, she also mentioned this, like where to start can be pretty confusing and daunting. But we do have a team of experts that can, help you develop the path to financed emissions and beyond. That is, to start your transition journey.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So look, we actually have a little bit of time for Q&A. I hope you guys are open to some questions. Yeah, and we actually have questions, so that's great. So let me just take a look and see what's come in. Okay, so here, this is for Sasha. Although Devasmita, if you want to chime in on your own perspective, that's fine too. But it's definitely something that's been on a lot of people's minds, so I'm glad somebody asked it. There is a question. I would like to know about the Trump impact to PCAF initiative. Banks are leaving the Net Zero Alliance and the Net Zero Banking Alliance. And so it's kind of open-ended at that, but I think that's actually a pretty good question to have open-ended. So if either of you guys want to chime in on that, that'd be great. But if I could start with Sasha, because I think it's probably directed at you.
Yeah, so certainly directed at me, PCAF's the question. So we have not actually seen any change in our signatory base. Signatories continue to be excited about the evolving work. I would like to point out PCAF is just an accounting standard. We are not a target setting initiative. We strictly are just an accounting standard. And so I don't foresee us being impacted much by the change in administration. If anything, we just continue to see more and more excitement globally about it.
Excellent.
Yeah, and Mark, if I can jump in, like even
Yes,
from
please.
our clients, like we are still seeing movement in this direction, in the positive direction, even if banks are leaving the Net Zero Banking Alliance. I think a lot of progress has already been made when the alliance was very well and active. So I don't think people are leaving that behind.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Sasha, another one for you. Are the resources on PCAF accessible for the emissions factor on free access, or are there subscription fees for you to have to be part of PCAF? We're a consulting company and would like to know how to use those emissions factors that Sasha mentioned.
So our standards are publicly available in the market. Our emission factors are for signatories only. We have a tiered signatory structure. If you are a consulting company, you're free to reach out to us, info@PCAF, our partnership carbon accounting financials.com. We can forward you to our accredited partner program. I believe that's the direction you'd want to go as a consulting firm.
Okay, here's one for Devis Mita, and also very similar to the, I mean, I guess you kind of half answered already, but very similar to the, what we've been seeing. Really about, how the changes over the past year, whether political environment or scrutiny into sustainability programs, affected what you're seeing in terms of your client needs.
I think there's a lot of focus on just documentation and data accuracy. That's one thing I think that's definitely we're seeing a lot amongst our clients. Initially, it was more about trying to get started and trying to just do it once, even if it's not perfect. But I think definitely there's a lot of focus now on making sure everything is accurate and correct.
Okay, excellent. Couple more for Sasha. I'm going to combine these because one's kind of short, so I can stick it over. First, so it's a two-parter officially. Will PCAF be taking on any partnerships in the future? I assume this is regarding the consulting partnerships, but you can discuss anything you want. And if you can handle two at a time, has PCAF made any progress in quantifying the expected ROI from reducing PCAF scores, whether through cost savings, compliance benefits, risk mitigation, or a combination of these factors? I assume it's standards instead of scores.
Yes. So to the first one, yes, we have a team dedicated to partnerships. Again, I can refer you to them if you send me a message. We have a wonderful group of people working on that. To the second question, to my knowledge, we have not done any studies on the expected ROI from a reduction. And I assume what you are referring to is data quality score for PCAF. However, we do have a ton of co-authored papers that I'm happy to forward out to anyone, just not particularly around this from my knowledge, but I am happy to check internally if anyone's done any research on this.
Okay, excellent. Some more PCAF questions. How does the PCAF standard compare or align with the EU CSRD or ESRS?
We are aligned. We have teams dedicated to this on our PCAF secretariat to ensure that we are aligned to upcoming regulation. We are mentioned by Canadian OSFI regulation, but we do have alignment across most standards, all standards actually that I'm aware of. So.
Okay, we still got some more if you guys are up to a couple more
minutes. Yeah, I like this rapid fire questions. It's good.
Okay, with finance, this can be for anybody. With finance emissions being step number 1 for portfolio analysis for financial institutions, does PCAF have any open initiative for bringing in risk-associated methodologies? I guess it's more for Sasha.
So we, as I mentioned earlier, we are just an accounting standard. That is our step in the decarbonization journey. We help firms just calculate what emissions they have. Risk-associated methodologies, I think, is an enhancement around that. And I think consulting firms like Schneider Electric, like other consulting firms, are best positioned to help do that risk management and risk methodologies.
Okay, so one more. I would like, actually more than one more. I would like to understand what is the current greatest challenges in corporate sustainability reporting in either starting stage or more mature stage in any specific industry? I don't know, Devasmini, do you think you can take a crack at that, or is it?
Yeah, unfortunately, the answer to this is data. It's always data and resourcing. That's the biggest hurdle that we see. Like a lot of companies have a lot of ambition, but they're either resource constrained or their data is just not in a state that's easily pulled out and actually used for these sort of purposes and any like reporting purposes. So that's unfortunately still the answer.
I concur. Full data.
That's definitely what I hear. So that's it's nice to know that things are aligned with what I'm actually hearing.
Yeah, it's still the case. Like even though we've been doing this for a while, it's still the same issues that companies are still struggling with.
Yeah. Are PE and M&A shops moving towards carbon accounting as a tool to determine valuation for a particular deal? I don't know. Do either of you have any insights into that?
We have seen a growth in PE firms joining PCAF in recent years to measure and assess their own financed emissions. I'm not sure. I have seen it used in valuation. However, that's not from a PCAF lens. And so from a PCAF lens, there definitely an uptick in the number of firms who are assessing and measuring. And what is being done internally is kind of out of the PCAF purview.
Yeah, I can also jump in here. I'm not entirely sure if it's used for valuation for a particular deal, but there's definitely one of the data points that is being looked at is emissions of a target, or even looking at avoided emissions if that target is in some sort of a business that does work in that field. So those two definitely are some metrics that we're seeing that are being more used now.
Yeah, I mean, I know just I just do a lot of reading on my own. I'd read a lot about how emissions factors can research on emissions factors feeding into like cost of capital and that kind of thing. So almost like an implied type of valuation impact. So that's actually really interesting. Here's one more. What are the most common pitfalls PCAF observed when financial institutions begin measuring their financed emissions, particularly regarding Scope 3, and how can these be avoided? I think that one's probably for Sasha.
I don't want to say a pitfall. I think a stumbling block is
That's safer language, yeah.
yeah, I think a stumbling block is as we had mentioned, data availability is a constraint in for most institutions, even internally, like how data is sourced in their own data lakes, who owns the data. So you can have a ton of ambition when you start, and when you get to the point of actually calculating, there might be some stumbling blocks of just like figuring out where in your organization data lives, who's responsible for things, clear and open communication channels. And then also if you lack that data, where is the best place to go for perhaps third-party data, whether it's free or paid data, to substitute for your own internal data that you may not have. And then continuing to move up the PCAF data quality scores, like where do you get new information, new and credible information and robust data that will hold up to an audit. And so I think, I don't want to say overexcitement at the beginning is the shortfall, but I think people need to jump in and disclose and be excited about it, but with a optimistic understanding that there may be data constraints along the way. So just to expect those as you go forward.
Sasha, is it accurate to say it has to be like a continuous improvement process?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so we're getting pretty close to the end of our time, but maybe just a couple more if you guys are okay, because like this is actually really cool. I mean, I'm enjoying the rapid fire, and I mean it's easier for me because I'm pretty much sitting back. But if you guys are up to it, a couple more, is that all right?
Yep.
Okay. Here's one. Apart from public consultations, are there any other ways that signatories become involved or have input into the PCAF standard development process?
Yes. 1,000 times yes. We have, so our core team who writes the standards is actually signatory based. So our secretariat helps facilitate a little bit, but all of the methodologies that you guys read, all the methodologies that are currently out for public consultation are drafted by signatories, and signatories being FIs. So there's a ton of ways that signatories can have input in the standard development process, through writing the methodologies, through being, ahead of public consultation. We also have internal consultation where signatories will read through the standards and give initial feedback. There's tons of ways to be involved. So if you're interested in the core team, I'm more than happy to set you up to speak with some of our internal team to discuss further. But we're always looking for signatory input. It's well valued in our organization.
Okay, so let me just do one more. This one is well, it'd be fair, one, but probably Devasmita. And again, I know it's like a very new announcement, the partnership, but there is a question: does Schneider have any existing clients yet for PCAF related consulting?
Yeah, we are doing this work with clients, and like I mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, we've worked with a lot of financial services clients just doing their finance to emissions calculations. We've also helped clients commit to PCAF. So yes.
Okay, excellent. We actually have a few more, but I think we're up against the end of time. So is it okay if I go to the closing here? I think we're a little past, so it's fine. I'll pass on the questions to you guys afterwards, so you can get back to anybody with any answers. So anyways, yeah, I just love, like I said, we're good out of time. So I'd really like to thank Devasmita and Sasha for participating in our first webinar, and for taking all those great questions. I was really happy those came in. It's actually been really fascinating to hear your answers. So thanks. Thanks for highlighting the powerful combination of decarbonization solutions and services and finance emissions reporting brought together by your new partnership. It's really exciting. Just a quick housekeeping note: we're going to send out a link to everybody who joined today with a recording of today's webinar, and the webinar will also be available shortly on the resources page on ESG Today, so feel free to visit that. And that's all. So thanks, everybody. I hope everyone has a great day. It's still January, so I think I could still wish everyone a great new year. Again, thanks, Devasmita, thanks, Sasha, and thanks, everyone. Thanks for joining our first.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks a lot, everyone. Bye.
Bye.